My name is Helen Kernizan, and I'm a music educator. So Helen comes from the Greek word Eleni, or like the Hellenic, right? All of that. It means light. But there are many Helens in our Greek community for sure. My maiden name is Vassallo, which is Italian, but I am not Italian. My father is Maltese. For those people that don't know, it is a small country. It's like the narrowest part of the island is only 16 miles long. So it's very small. It's twice the size of Manhattan. It is southwest of Sicily. It has its own government. It has its own language, which is Maltese, which is a cross between Italian and Arabic. So some of my cousins have very Italian sounding last names, like Vassallo, Valea, Vella. And then my other cousins have very Arabic sounding names, Mifsud. So it's a very interesting language.
But your husband's last name, so that's French, right?
It is French. He's Haitian. Yeah. He is first generation American. Both of his parents were born in Haiti. Mm-hmm. Both of my parents are educators. Actually, almost everybody in my family is an educator. My aunt, my uncle, my cousins, and everybody, believe it or not, is English. They all are English teachers. My father actually owns his own business. He's a business consultant. Companies hire him to teach their employees business writing. It could be art of writing an email, the art of writing a proposal, the art of writing a grant. That's what he does. My mom taught sixth grade English for 20 years. And so from them, I definitely inherited my inquisitive nature. At a very young age, that was always very important to my family, being inquisitive. And so I'm still that way to this day. And I think sometimes people take it as I'm questioning them, but really I'm just curious and I just want to know and understand. My favorite question is why? Why do things work the way they do? And I definitely, and also self-advocacy, I definitely got from my parents. They instilled that in me. I don't know if that was nurture or nature, probably more nurture. I've always been a huge person to stick up for myself and fight for what I believe is right. And that's definitely from my parents for sure. I have an older sister. We're 4 school years apart. Her name is Elizabeth. She's a doctor. She's actually the only one in the family that is not an educator. Her and her husband are both doctors. She's an internist and her husband is a pediatrician. And I always had these huge shoes to fill because she was top 10 in her class. She was like in all the AP classes from the get. And I was like, that's not me. Like I had no desire to be that. I'm the talented one, but then I realized I could be both, I could do both. And I hated walking into a classroom. Vassallo? Oh, Liz is your sister. I was like, oh, great. They're going to have all these expectations for me. So like that even like deflated me, then. And, you always hear like parents make the mistake of saying, I never say this to my kids because I know how damaging it was for me. You're nothing like your sister, but said in a negative way instead of like, oh my God, you're your own person. My sister and I are incredibly different. She is, she was very academically driven as a kid, and I loved school, but I loved the social aspect of school. I was very smart, but I did not care about homework. And of course, like in elementary, middle school, and even high school, it's all about the homework grade, right? Especially when we were growing up, right? You got like a whole homework grade, and I just never did homework. So I was like a B, C student until high school, really. And then one of my teachers was like, you are too smart to be in these like gen ed classes. And she recommended me to be in like AP and honors. And the principals were like, her grades are horrible. And they were like, she's not being challenged. And so I feel like that teacher, that English teacher that advocated for me, Miss Pirelli, she saved my life because I was cutting class and I was bored. I was just bored. And then I was in all AP classes and it was like a different world for me. Like going to college was always on the forefront for me because my parents went to school. Like it was just like you go to school and then you go to college. Like it wasn't ever an option to do otherwise.
Exactly.
But I loved art and I loved music. So I was like, I don't need to learn about geometry. I'm going to be a fashion designer. I don't, and I actually applied to more art schools than I did to music schools. And then something happened in high school. I tore my ACL playing soccer. And I was very depressed because all of my friends were on the soccer team. I couldn't play anymore. I needed surgery. And music was the only thing that saved my life. It saved me. And then I decided at 16, I wanted to be a music teacher. Now, I know most people don't declare their major until like junior year in college. I knew as a sophomore in high school what I wanted to do. So I used to put on musicals in our living room. My parents took us to see a lot of Broadway shows. I used to put on Cats. I was all the cats. I wasn't one cat. I was all of them. Angelical cats come out tonight. And I would like dance around the living room and I would put on Les Mis. I would do all of the characters. I was Jean Valjean. I was Fantine. I was Eponine. I was everybody. I did Phantom. I knew all the shows by heart. So my parents would take us to my parents grew up in New York. So we were there every weekend. We would go to the Met. We would go to the Whitney, the MoMA. We went to all the museums. We went to BAM. Like that was every weekend. That's what we did. And Broadway shows when the money was there. So I've always loved the arts. So it was so funny. I didn't think that you could have a career in it unless you were famous, even though I had a music teacher, I don't know, until I went to Westminster. And then I was like, oh, I love teaching. I love music.
Right.
So, and then it became so obvious to me that that's what I wanted to do. I went to school in Sayreville, New Jersey. So a little north of Ocean. And I was the only freshman that got into the choir. So it was like this elite choir. It was 33 kids. I was the only freshman. And the choir was so welcoming. It was like my family, like immediately. I felt so welcomed and I was like, these are my people. Like I knew immediately, like this is where I belong. And sophomore year, there was an opportunity to go to a camp and the Choral Parents Association paid for my tuition to go. And so it was at Westminster and it was 125 other kids that were just like me, that loved music, that loved singing. This was with their passion. It was a sleepaway camp, 2 weeks. And I knew maybe like the second day of camp, this is where I'm going to college. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I went to Westminster Choir College in Princeton, New Jersey. It's now been moved to Lawrenceville at the Rider University campus. My 100%, my philosophy of music education is that everyone can be a musician. Everyone has that aptitude. And everyone can leave my room talking, thinking, and breathing music. And to me, all encompassing, that is music literacy. So, but through play, through songs, through games, and even in high school, when I taught high school and I taught high school choir, I taught AP theory, I taught voice lessons at high school. Even then, where I was always focused on learning through play, even with those high school kids, because they're just bigger babies, right? Everybody loves to play. And so discovering music and music literacy through games, through self-discovery, and I'm a huge advocate of self-exploration. I want to get them excited so that they're curious to go out and be like, oh, I learned how to, from what you taught me, I learned how to play this song on the ukulele on my own, or I went and I learned this song, or, oh, I went to this show and it reminded me of this song that we did in choir. And that, when I hear those stories, that makes it all worth it. It all comes together. And that's hopefully what I'm teaching in my room, the love and passion for music, because everybody loves music, right? You get on the subway in New York, everyone's plugged in, everyone's listening to something, right? You're in the car, people always have their music on. So music is a huge part of our lives. And for me, I want to bridge that gap between school music and our personal love of music. And actually, that's what my master's thesis was about. How do we bridge the gap between people that pick up the guitar and say, I want to teach myself how to play the guitar, and why are kids not signing up for music in schools? And I think it's because they think they're separate, right? This is school music and this is my music. And I want them to know that it's all the same. I have my favorite stuff that I listen to. So a huge part of the music that I teach, I make sure that it's incredibly diverse in terms of where's the music from. I try to make sure that I'm representing music from all cultures and all countries. Deeply Rooted Culture Club, which is the full name. The mission of the group and the purpose of the group is really to have a safe space for students of color to come and just feel safe. And then another mission and goal of the group is to help educate and bring awareness to these cultures and our differences and diversity to the student body and the community at large.
Tell us something about yourself that most people don't know.
Something about me that most people don't know is that I have a stepson who is 11 years old, and he actually lives in Iceland. His mother is Icelandic. My husband's ex-wife is Icelandic, from Iceland, yes, the country. And I haven't seen him since November of 2019 because of the pandemic. And it's been incredibly, incredibly difficult. He has been in my life, or I have been in his life, since he was 2. He calls me mommy. He's like my blood. I love him just as much as my other 2 boys. And so, I guess that's something that a lot of people don't know about me. So the pandemic has been a struggle for multiple reasons. Mother's Day is always hard because I don't have all of my boys with me. But this year, we usually have him for his birthday. We usually have him every other Christmas. So Christmas was really hard. His birthday was hard this year and last year. His birthday 7 days before mine. So his birthday is the 16th, and mine's the 23rd of this month of April. And so that was really tough, missing another birthday. And we usually have him all summer. So we haven't seen him since November 2019. And it's been very hard. So.
Well, I didn't know that. And I think that is really beautiful. I'm glad you shared that.
I have to say the same thing I said before. Yeah, right? Okay. My name is Helen Kernizan, and I'm a music educator.
Bingo. Perfect.